Okay, there you go.
There we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to Decentralized Masters Podcast, your go-to source for everything decentralized. I am John, and I'm here today with Shabam. We're going to go ahead and guide you through the ever-changing world of DeFi, one strategy at a time, every week, right here at Decentralized Masters YouTube channel. So we're going to be going live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button. Don't make sure to go ahead and miss out on any of the news that we're going to be talking about. We're going to go ahead and deep dive into the market trends and practical tips on what you could go ahead and apply immediately to your strategies in this evolving world of cryptocurrency. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Shabam, do you have anything in mind? I know we've been having a lot of things going on. Literally just had the election. We've been talking about this back and forth, how the market was reacting. But overall, I mentioned early on that I thought the election wasn't going to really affect crypto too much, but there was definitely some sort of influence. What do you think about it, and what do you think about the market moving forward after this?
Yeah, I mean, just insane volatility to the downward and upward. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's go ahead and boom. So let's see, share. Okay, hopefully can everyone can see my screen here. Let's go ahead and get to Bitcoin on the daily.
You got to go
Um,
ahead and click. You got to click it again. There you go. Perfect. I can see it now.
Perfect. So let me go ahead and get rid of some of these lines I have. But yeah, I mean, as we can see, the election, November 4th, we kind of bottomed. We basically, topped almost around 73 and then just came back down out of election fear. Everyone was like, oh, we're going to dump. And we did. And then boom, election day came. And if you go to the 4 hour on election day, November 4th, bottomed. And from there, it's just been up only. So I think a lot of people, sold their spot bags, especially for listening to influencers on Twitter, crypto Twitter or YouTube. A ton of Telegram groups that I'm in terms of DeFi and traders, they're just all de-risking. I certainly didn't, since I've just been dollar cost averaging in. There's no reason for me to sell if we're going higher. Tax implications, things like that. But the election was just, I think it caught everyone off guard, even myself. I didn't even look at the charts the entire day, and I feel that was a major mistake in terms of volatility and upward potential. Especially as the election and from data started coming in. If you looked at the mainstream media, you can see that we pumped, dumped, and then we started going up right around. This is 6 o'clock p.m. My time, so that's 7 p.m. Eastern. That's when they started counting, tallying votes and ballots, and from there, Trump took a lead, and the markets reacted immensely bullish. We had a 2.5% move for Bitcoin, and then we just continued going up since then. It's been up only. We were up 10% in a day. So this is bullish price action that we're typically used to seeing in crypto and Bitcoin. And if you look at the daily, I mean, this is just insane. We set an all-time high on election night. The high, as you can see, was $73,624.98. And we hit a new high earlier today. It's going to go to the 15-minute. So we hit a new high literally 15 minutes ago. So let's see exactly what that was right here. $76,824, just like a few minutes ago. So the markets are been immensely bullish from Trump taking the lead, and they just haven't looked back. It's caught a lot of people off guard, and it's just continuing to go up only. And even if you take a look at the total crypto market cap, so let me get the right one. That's excluding Bitcoin. DeFi, here we go. Again, the same thing, right? Election day came, and then everyone just added more. And we can kind of see that in the charts. So there's a ton of alts that have just continuously pumped. Of course, not financial advice or anything, but personally, my favorite one this cycle in terms of it just leading, the market. And I just like trading the ones that are leading the market. And Solana, as you can see, has been just, up 24% compared to Bitcoin, which is up 11%, right? So some of these alts have just absolutely crushed it. Price action, and all of these charts, look the same. We're almost about to just go so much higher, coming up to previous all-time highs, not only this cycle but previous cycle. So immensely bullish for my term. But yeah, this election caught so many people off guard. How about you, John?
Yeah, man. I mean, to be completely honest, I was a little bit nervous. To be completely honest, we've looked into the charts. I want to. Do you have that the election after every election, how the market looks? Do you have it on you,
Um,
or I want to
I
go ahead and
do
pull that out. Let me
I
see if
do
I have
not.
it.
So
Okay.
I know
So
what you're
yeah,
referring to. So if you
yeah. So to
do,
be
let me
completely
stop.
honest, man, I think I have it right here. I'm gonna pull it out of my computer, but I was nervous, man, to be completely honest. Even though, like, from all different cycles, like, it's never affected crypto, like, ever. Like, no matter whether it was a Republican, a Democrat, it never really mattered, right? The market always went
Yeah,
ahead and did his own thing. But I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, man, like, what if it doesn't go in the direction that we expect, right? So that was a little bit nerve wracking, and I think it was more of a relief as soon as I went ahead and actually saw that the market went in the direction that we all expected it for it to go. So I think I have it right here. Let me
let
go
me
ahead and
stop
pull it out real quick.
sharing. Go
I'll just
ahead.
share it.
Yeah,
It's gonna
what's
be
crazy is even the assets that have kind of not been moving like Ethereum, it's just bottomed and it's been, pumping. And it's crazy that and exactly as you mentioned, I think the market sentiment and the FOMO wasn't there. And for me, I just didn't chase in case Harris started coming back. What if that caused capitulation or a black swan event? And honestly, I was,
exactly.
if that happened, I wanted to be ready to enter that instead of chase. And it just never happened. And another thing is poly market, right? Poly market, the data on poly market was much more accurate than mainstream media. They were a little lagging, so Trump was just taking a lead. And I think the whales and the giga
Yeah,
traders out there utilize poly market to just pump it up even more. But yeah, this is a great chart right here. I zoom out
100%,
just.
man.
Yep,
Let
there we
me
go.
let me go ahead and can you see it pretty well?
I zoom out just a little bit
I don't
more,
want to
just a little
zoom.
bit. Yeah, I think that's good. Maybe.
Is
Yeah,
that too
that's
big?
no. I think that looks good on
It's
my
like
screen.
literally full size. Okay, it looks full size on my screen, so I can't really see anything, but you can see it perfectly, right? It's not blurry.
Yep. No, it looks great
Okay,
on my
awesome.
end.
Perfect. So this chart right here is showing us that after every presidential election, the market goes up, right? As I mentioned, whether Republican, Democrat, it never really mattered. We could go all the way back as far as 2012, where Bitcoin was within this range right here in the bottom, this red square. And then after the election, this is the blue line right here, the market took off. Same thing that we had in 2016. And then same thing we had in 2020, right? So I think 2020, Biden was in office at that point and the market still took off, right? So right now, 2024, this is where we're currently at the moment. And I think now we probably are closer. I mean, we already broke all-time highs. So we already touched it right now. We're at $76,000, which the market's looking very, very good. I'm definitely excited to look into the charts to see what things are looking like. But the markets have been reacting very, very positively. I remember catching up on some emails and listening to the whole entire polls and everything, and just watching carefully with like on the side of the screen with my charts up, and the market was just like I just started seeing these massive spikes, and I'm like, I think the market's pricing in a victory already, and they
Yeah.
did. As soon as that happened, we did kind of have like a massive pump with a little small retracement. But I just want to go ahead and share that this has been the usual, but it is definitely a relief on my end. To be completely honest, I was kind of nervous. I was like, let's see. I was like, just like you. I was already on risk on assets. Like I was already into the market pretty well versed in my opinion. But I was also holding back to deploy more capital because I was like, what if Harris was to go ahead and come in? There's a high probability the market might overreact and think that it's the end of the world, and there might be a small correction, which would be a buy and a dip opportunity. So I was like patiently waiting with cash on hand on the side to go ahead and deploy more capital. But I missed it. You know what I mean? So luckily, I was already in some positions. So I'm sure you have as well. You've been appreciating
Oh
this
yeah.
massive movement to the upside. But yeah, it's very difficult to go ahead and time the exact when it comes, especially with politics, things like that, certain events around the world, it's very, very difficult, even with TA, to really try to price in this kind of information, right? So I always suggest a DCA strategy. Like I always say, go for the projects you understand, projects you like, and start doing a DCA strategy. And whenever those opportunities present themselves, you go ahead and throw in cash. Now, I wanted to ask you, what is like your strategy when it comes to this? Do you like to go ahead and do like a DCA strategy on a weekly basis, bi-weekly, monthly? Like, what is your strategy when it comes to deploying capital into the world of crypto?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think majority of people that have been around in multiple cycles, I think you stop looking at price action and start looking at the token value, right? If you have one ETH, you kind of want to double that to two ETH, or if you have zero point 0.5 Bitcoin, you want to double that to one full Bitcoin. So that's where the dollar cost averaging strategy comes in, and it's honestly up to you as the user. But for me, it's basically anytime I like price is lower or near where I bought, I just buy more. And the past few months, so let me go ahead and share my screen again. Um, perfect. So if we take a look again back at ETH, but let's go back to Bitcoin, right? If you're just taking a look at Bitcoin, um, we have had since let's just go ahead and say right around here to today, that has been 253 days. We've been in this little box for 253 days. In terms of months, let's go ahead and say that is what's from here to today. That's 9 months. So 9 months of just chopping around has been perfect for dollar cost average. It doesn't matter. I certainly bought these tops. I'll tell you that. I thought we were breaking out up here, insanely bullish. Boom, we just don't. Then, of course, I thought, we'd come back up, boom, dumped, right? And certainly you've been buying these lower ones as well as soon as this trend line's been, respected. And it's kind of now that
Yeah.
banana zone that we all talk about. So, certainly I was in Europe at this time out on vacation, and then, it dumped, boom, from war news, boom, we came again, respected, loaded up a little more here, again, loaded up more here. We kind of haven't touched it, and now we're just kind of setting all-time highs. So the dollar cost strategy for me has been just buy within this range so far, but now we're entering that parabola zone. So for me, if I already have a ton of exposure to Bitcoin, Solana, ETH, all these blue chip assets. If I were to look and get dollar cost average in right now, I'm certainly doing it in assets I don't have, like some altcoins that we've done some research reports on, gems, uncover things like that that are going to start to move. Because if you've been around in the cycle, you know that Bitcoin is king. It moves first, and then other assets are going to move. The only issue this cycle is that Solana has been leading as well. So I've been, again, the same thing. We've been in this range, chopping around, been loading up, and that same trend line has been respected up until the election, and it's just pumped. The only issue that hasn't been respected has been ETH. And as an ETH buyer since the last cycle, certainly bought the top here, loaded up here, and just been averaging in. We kind of haven't seen that, but now we can kind of see that, hey, it's starting to rebound up. We're at a critical resistance zone, 2890. If we continue break through that, it's, who knows, maybe it's going to be like Bitcoin, all-time high weighting. So it's specific assets like this is where I'm currently dollar cost averaging in that haven't set an all-time high yet, or are even still, trying to break out. So that's where my mind is at. And I just like to add to what you mentioned earlier about the election, where we all were FOMO. I think everyone was just in the industry just afraid, and we can see that this is October 6th. But once we got closer to November 4th, right, Trump kind of took this little lead. And then, around 6 p.m., right? Where is that? Right there. That is what I was mentioning earlier. He was up 58, Kamala at 52 or 42. And
Is
then
this your
boom, I wish.
Ethereum chart?
Oh, nope, I forgot. I got to
Yeah,
reshare
you're
my
still sharing your,
screen.
your Ethereum.
Forget that you had to manually do it on here. So let
Yeah.
me present again. I got to stop sharing. Share screen. Thank you for reminding me. I forget that you have to continuously update what you're sharing on here. How about now? Can you see this?
Not yet, not yet. Let's see. Try, maybe it's loading. but I don't see anything. You should make sure. There you go. There you go.
There we go. Perfect.
Awesome. So what
Okay.
are we
Yep.
looking at? You said
So this
the
is Poly Market here.
okay.
It's a decentralized betting, you know, protocol built on Polygon, which is a layer 2 on Ethereum. They're immensely great in DeFi, and especially in this marketplace, which was the initial betting marketplace in crypto, and now there's so many more from Drift, etc. They're starting to replicate it, but this is one of the leading ones. So let me zoom in, see if everyone can see that. Perfect. But as I was saying, right, November 4th is when we kind of bottomed, 6 p.m. You can see the election, right? Trump was up 58%, Harris 41. And from there, Trump just continued to take that lead while Harris just dumped. And I think that's when the markets were like, all right, this is Trump for sure.
Yeah.
And if you were in crypto and you're utilizing Poly Market, I think that's where a lot of traders, whales started, loading their positions again, longing their longs or getting rid of their shorts. I certainly was not looking at all. I just didn't want to get caught in the chop. And,
Yeah.
it,
I
it
didn't know about
unfortunately
this, to
didn't
be
work.
completely honest. I didn't know about Polymarket myself. Like I've always saw it. Like I was looking at it on YouTube, and I was like, I think that's like a betting, like something with betting or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting. I'm really curious to see how this turns out with like other future things. I mean, they pretty much almost, I don't want to say predicted the election, but they were almost like I would say like almost an hour or two, because I remember I had my office hours. And I was about to end my office hours. My office hours, I think it was like around
That's exactly
9,
what happened for
9,
me, man.
10. I was ending, man. And then next you know, the market's just taking off. And I'm like, this is great to see. Like, great to see the volatility live. And then after that, that's when it really took off, man. That's really cool. I really got to start looking into Poly Market myself, see what they have. Have you dabbled into it yourself? Or you just using
Um,
it as an indicator, kind of? Or you were using it as an
Unfortunately, I have dabbled into it, but I have not
indicator?
utilized it for trading or anything. There's another one. Polymarket's unfortunately restricted in the US unless you utilize a
Okay.
VPN, as a majority of users do in the US. But I certainly look at it for all of the election stuff, especially not only just the House, the election winner. You could even break this down in terms of the states. Let's see if I can pull that up. The states is where it was even more obvious. So when you come into the state bets, this is where it really, where users started seeing, Trump taking the lead. And that's when I think, the market started pricing in Trump and just bullish reaction. So you could have even broke it down per state. So Pennsylvania was one of the key states, right? If you come in here, you can see how close it was, tight and tight. 7 a.m. Then we get to 6 p.m. on November 5th, Trump 52% again, right? So he just had a lead in a majority of these states that were clearly shown on Polymarket way ahead, hours ahead compared to mainstream media. Mainstream media didn't announce Pennsylvania for, I believe, till 1 a.m. or 12
Yeah.
my time. So that's 6 hours later, 6 p.m. to 6, by then the massive pump had already happened. Even if
Yeah.
you chase that pump with low leverage or spot, you might have been fine. But as someone who's seen a lot of just volatility pump and dump, I just didn't chase it, and it didn't work out. But I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not too sad. There's so much ahead bullishness, right? Opportunities. Um,
I think it was
and
good
then
you didn't chase it, man, because I saw that, and when I saw the market reacting, I was like, "There's something going on here." I'm like, and I started searching for news, nothing came out. It's just the market's running. So by the time Trump actually announced that he became president, the market dumped. Like the Bitcoin actually corrected by then.
yep,
Like right as soon as they actually announced it publicly that he was elected, the market reacted and went ahead, and that's where a lot of profit taking was actually happening on the table, which was very, very interesting. But let me go ahead and share my charts with you real quick. I want to go ahead and share this with
yeah,
Bitcoin.
let me just add to something
You're
you
gonna start
mentioned
showing? Go for it.
earlier. Coming back to, like you said, right when you wrapped up office hours, I wrapped up office hours as well. 6 my time, which is 1800 in military right here. So you can see that was literally the start of the pump. As I just showed you guys on Polymarket, right? 6 p.m. This is 6 p.m. right here when Trump took the lead in majority of states. And that was literally the bottom. From there, boom, we pumped 3%. From there, 8%. Currently up 9, right? But same thing with Solana, which moved even higher, 1,800 right here, right? We from there, that initial pump was 12%. So far, completely 18, 19%. So it's been insane how poly market certainly influence the crypto market over mainstream media, and I think that's going to be huge in the next cycle as well and going forward. Just relying in information and data that you can utilize, especially decentralized data like on Polymarket. So even though it's a betting platform, it certainly was way ahead. So
Yeah, that was crazy, man. That I didn't realize that. I'm turning off my. Seems like my tablet's going off. Were you able to hear it or no?
no, I don't think I was
Okay.
able to hear it.
Okay, perfect. Let me just. I can't even unlock it. I just don't want it to go off. For some reason, my phone decides to go off. But no, that's interesting, man. How the market reacted to that, and it's really interesting to see if that's going to be a leading indicator. I mean, I think you touched on a lot of few things that I really want to touch basis on. Like for example, like Ethereum. Like I've noticed some differences between Ethereum, and you mentioned how Solana has been a leading asset in this cycle. And there's also been a few that have been in a rise, like Sui. So I definitely want to
Oh
go ahead
yeah.
and take a look at that together, share that with you, and then kind of see what you think, and also just share that with everybody so they could kind of see. We're basically on the same page, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and even if you're not just like loading your bags on Sui, um, it's right. Our entire platform and program is built on decentralized finance, DeFi, and how you can leverage your assets to generate passive income via yield. And I think Sui has been Solana and Sui have been the top two in terms of the past 6 months, just generating free yield, especially Sui because the APY have been over 100, 200%, 400% sometimes, or even 1,000 on DeFi protocols like Turbos and Cetus. And that's the key. You're just basically earning free tokens via yield by utilizing your asset. And then the price has appreciated, right? Sui bottomed, I think, a month and a half ago around 70, 60 cents. And then last time I checked, it was at $1.80.
Yeah, it went
So
as low as
it's,
40 cents actually. It bottomed at like
yeah,
40 something cents. And I think now it's probably way above it. But from I think it was
yep.
early August, October, maybe or September. I think it did over 4x.
Yeah.
We could
And
definitely go. Can you
that's
see
the
my screen
beauty
by the
of
way
it.
or no?
No, not yet. There we go. It's loading
Okay,
now.
there you go. Now it loads
Perfect.
up. How about now?
Yeah, it
Okay,
looks great.
perfect,
We can
awesome.
see it.
So yeah, let's go ahead and look into that, and then let's also look into Sui too, because I think it's I've kind of noticed there's an indicator with Sui that I think we could go ahead and use prior to kind of see where the market is going to be heading towards. So this is the Bitcoin chart. You talked a little bit about what we were looking at. We talked about a resistance finally being broken at around the $73,000 range, which Bitcoin's looking pretty good. This is exactly what I've been personally waiting for. I've been telling a lot of people that what we're currently looking at, if we go ahead and zoom out, we are actually forming the biggest cup and handle that I've
Yep.
ever seen, which is one of the
Yep.
biggest
So
bullish
bullish.
patterns that you could go ahead and see. And you
Yep.
mentioned a lot of these altcoins are right now at their near bottom. Like a lot of them have already bottomed out, and some of them are leading. And that's why I want to touch base on the SUI because I think there's a lot of information right there that we could use moving forward to kind of I don't want to say predict the market, but understand where the market could be heading because I think there's a lot of signs that you could definitely go ahead and follow to kind of get a better idea where to go ahead and allocate funds to, right? So this is right here the
Exactly.
reason why I've been very bullish with the market these last couple months was because I was seeing that this cup and handle pattern was forming. So as we see right here, there is a strong resistance, which is basically like the ceiling. So in order to be bullish, we need to go ahead and break the neckline, right? Which was around the $73,000 range, which we are now broken above, right? So as long as Bitcoin continues to hold above $73,000, we're going to have a very similar move to what we're seeing right here on this little chart that I'm sharing, where we could be going towards the next target of Bitcoin being around $80,000. I mean, we're not that far away if we actually measure it from a percentage standpoint of how far we are actually to obtain $80,000 on Bitcoin. We will go ahead. We're actually 4%, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see exactly. slightly exactly would be 2.84%. So we're not that far away from hitting $80,000, right? And tomorrow's Friday, so if the markets do finish
Oh
strong,
yeah.
I do believe we're going to have a nice little weekend run. And as you see right now, the stock market is reacting pretty well. At least the S&P. The rest of the market looks pretty green. I mean, everything else is looking green. Bitcoin's looking green. It's looking pretty good right now. I'm actually more excited because it is following exactly what we were waiting for, which was breaking this neckline, right? So what does this mean for this neckline? So this essentially means that, in my opinion, I was waiting for this breakout to be a little bit more risk on into the market. So as Siobhan mentioned and myself, leading into the election, that's when I kind of stopped deploying capital to go ahead and wait to see where things go. And that's actually what a lot of people did in the market. They went ahead and stayed neutral in order to go ahead and decide, okay, so if this person wins, what are we going to do? Where's the market going to head? Right? The market doesn't like when there is uncertainty into the market. They don't like to be uncertain of what's going to go ahead and happen. And that's exactly what was going on. And now that we have the news, a lot of people are going to be entering what is called risk on. We're going to be entering risk on, meaning more people are no longer going to be waiting. Is this really the real bull run? Is this true? Should we be exposed to crypto? Should we not? Like, is this really real? I think this is the confirmation that we've all been waiting for.
It's a golden
Because
bull run, baby.
exactly. Because back in March, I'm gonna be completely honest, man. This was dreadful, man. Watching the
So
market just
bullish.
pump,
Yeah.
dump, pump, dump, pump, dump. It was very, very it definitely hit you, right? Because your dollar cost averaging into altcoins, your dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, and it just
Oh
continues to go lower, and
man.
it didn't make things better with all the ETF for Ethereum came out. That was almost bearish. Same thing with the Bitcoin ETF was almost
Yep.
bearish at one point, because at that point the market was already due for a little correction in order to see what we're going to be coming towards next. But this is
Right.
this is pretty exciting, man. Like I'm trying to really stay as neutral as possible. But this breakout is exactly what I was waiting for, to be a little bit more risk on. And if we go ahead and take a look at crypto bubbles right here, literally everything is green for the day, right? Look at all these altcoins. Radium up 18%, which is
Yep.
insane.
They just had a
I
listing on Coinbase earlier today, so that makes sense.
really no
Yeah,
way.
major listing on Coinbase today, which is a huge win
Wow,
for Solana's
that's huge.
DeFi ecosystem. I believe it could have been for their futures trading as well. So that's huge. Radium is pumping hard. Really great DeFi to earn yield on Sol and Solana assets, as well as stable coins. So yeah, Radium is killing it, and hopefully that leads the way for the rest of the Solana DeFi on getting
Well,
listed on all these
It,
centralized
def- it
exchanges.
definitely it definitely is. I mean, I've been questioning why Radium wasn't listed on Coinbase, and I think Jupiter isn't either, right? So I think now, I think it honestly, also think it has to do something with what just happened too with the
Yeah, oh
election,
yeah,
because
oh yeah,
because these are dexes, and what I've been saying that, like, with Gary Gensler, he was just trying to break down everything, even though they really couldn't touch decentralized exchanges. I mean, they're decentralized. They're not
yeah. I
owned
mean,
by someone.
he
They're being worked on. So he wanted to touch everything and break it. And I think a
exactly.
lot of these exchanges were limiting themselves into what tokens to list, so they won't have Gary Gensler behind their back.
Well, another thing is, majority of these Solana DeFi protocols, they've abandoned the US. They're all of the teams are based out of Singapore or Southeast Asia. Now they do have satellite offices in New York. I know Drift is up there, Jito, Camino, but majority of all the key builders that began those protocols are all in Southeast Asia, and so makes sense to why they haven't been touched. But Gary Gensler's gone after Uniswap, which is based out of New York, and was the inception of it was brought there. But yeah, I think everyone's just bullish, and a few things you mentioned right here. You look at the crypto bubbles. Just yesterday, after or Trump's victory, 200 billion was added to the crypto market. That is insane.
Wow,
200 billion in one day. I believe BlackRock's IBIT ETF was 2 billion in the first 20 minutes. So that's insane, And then the stock market was, I think, 1.2 trillion around there. I know it was trillion. So, stock market got a trillion, crypto market got
that's
200 billion.
insane.
and I'm just so bullish, to be honest, risk on, of course, not financial
Yep.
advice, but just so risk on. 200 billion in one day. How long till we see a trillion in one day in cryptocurrency?
Yeah.
Because right, the gold market cap is probably over 14 trillion the last time I checked. The crypto market cap's around 2 to 3 trillion right now.
Yeah.
Just
And then the stock market
so
is
much
about
higher.
100 trillion for the stock market. So
God,
we're a small ant compared to the stock market. That means there's a lot of opportunity in crypto, right?
potential growth. That's
A
the
lot
beauty
of
of it.
growth.
Yeah, and sure, we're looking at a screen right now where we see tokens up like 20% in a day or 200, 400% in a month or year. But the protocols and all these projects that are actually building of importance for utility at the end of the day back to users in terms of generating passive income or doing something beneficial in real world assets, DePIN, decentralized infrastructure, they're going to stick around while on this road to 10 trillion. And let me just double check on that chart I had on the
Yeah,
total
I mean
crypto market cap. We're at
overall with
2.5 trillion.
really, yeah. Overall, with what you just mentioned, I mean, Ray on the monthly is 185% up for the month. Also too, I'm not sure if you knew, but Pepe they actually went ahead and now finally listed it again on Kraken for the U.S.
Oh, there we
So
go.
as soon as Trump got back, they went ahead and relisted Pepe. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of tokens that got delisted because of the fear
Hmm.
of Gary Gensler. You know what I mean? So it did definitely go ahead and do an impact to, in my opinion, to the U.S. markets where now you're limited to buying, what coin to buy. I think a lot of us got into crypto for the freedom that it provides, and I think them limiting that it doesn't help us at all, right? In order for US to dominate, in the sector of crypto and blockchain technology, we need to bring awareness. I think regulation is needed, definitely 100%. There is some things that are done in this space that could definitely go ahead and need some help, but overall, it is a growing space, and the only way it could really continue to grow is by bringing awareness to it, not banning it, right? Banning, if you try to ban Bitcoin or crypto or things like that, it's not going to help. You know what I mean? You want to go ahead and bring awareness to this technology so we could also be the leading country in this technology, which we're not. You know what I mean? There's not companies that are going to want to form in the US related to crypto because of those fears prior now, right? So we could be seeing also a massive influx of a lot of crypto companies possibly also starting in the States. Now, I don't know if there's any benefits to that. I know most of them are in Asia, like most of the exchanges are out there too. Most of the top exchanges are all over there. But no, it's definitely signs. I mean, look at Dogecoin up 79% for the month. Sol 36%. Uniswap also saw a massive increase. So a lot of these tokens, I think we're seeing that a lot of people are getting excited for risk on behavior. Now, what I do want to go ahead and share is this fear and greed chart. So I'm not sure if you got the chance to look at it, Shivam, but before the election, it was on fear. And as we see right here, last week we were in fear, and now we are in greed. So you could definitely go ahead and see the difference in the volume and activity of how people are feeling. We were
Oh
from
man.
fearful to neutral to now greed. That means literally we could be taking off even higher, more than what most people expect, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see that,
If
man.
if that indicator was based for me, I would be all the way past 100 right now in terms of greed and bullishness just after this past few days. I mean, I do expect, maybe a potential pullback. A lot of people thought it would be today if after the Fed, the meeting today, but nothing
Didn't they
yet.
have jobs numbers? Don't they have job numbers today, or is that tomorrow?
I
I
I
was
have
looking for them. I couldn't
not
find anything.
yeah, I haven't had the time to check the mainstream media news yet, but the markets haven't reacted, so I'm guessing nothing too important. But yeah, I'm certainly up there on the greed in terms of that. And even going back to what you talked about, Gary Gensler, the potentially next SEC commissioner, I believe his name is Mark Ueda. He's already part of the SEC right now. As soon as he's been on mainstream media just saying that the past SEC commissioner, his exact words is, "I think our policies and our approach regarding crypto over the last several years have been just really a disaster for the whole industry." And we can see that so many Americans and protocols are bullish now in the United States. And as Trump mentioned, he wants to make the US basically the epicenter for crypto because he knows that future micro economies will be built. They already are, as we know since we're in the industry. But it's not a niche. It's something that needs to be captured because it is the future of finance, and you don't want to be left behind. And as you mentioned as well earlier, China, right? Or in terms of banning, so many countries have banned it. China has been the number one. They ban it every cycle or every 6 months. But there's this chart.
Here, pull it. I want to see it. Let me go ahead
Yeah,
and stop sharing my screen. I've
so
never
let me
seen
go
that
ahead and
chart, so I would
present.
definitely want to see it.
Let's see, is it this one? No. How can I bring this tab? Let's see. Window. Interesting.
Were you able to bring it up?
It's not pulling it up on the share screen, which is weird.
Yeah, that happened to me earlier right now as well too. I
Let's
thought it
see.
was just me. Try to unshare and then reshare.
Yeah, let me try that as well. Let me just copy the image if that helps. Okay, let's see if this works. Share screen. Okay, let me know once it loads. Let's see. There we go. So this is the
Okay, there
chart
we
I'm
go.
referring to. As you can see, Bitcoin held by country. Let me go ahead and close this. Boom. We don't need to
So
see
this
all
is
those
what?
random
So this is Bitcoin by what?
Bitcoin held by countries, right? So going back to
Okay.
what you mentioned in terms of banning, this is what I wanted to pull up because the United States, majority of the United States Bitcoin held right now have come from seizing or pursuing hackers or scammers. The U.S. has not bought a single dollar yet, but they are willing to, especially again, bullish news. Senator Lumens, I believe Cynthia Lummis, I most likely pronounced her name wrong or incorrectly, but out of she's a senator in the U.S. who is already putting out there, hey, we need to create a U.S. reserve in Bitcoin, and I believe it's over 200,000 per year. So that is insanely bullish, right? We're basically trying to double the United States number each year. And guess who's number two? The country that's banned Bitcoin and crypto the most the past decade, China. I feel like China is like the Scooby Doo character when you pulled the little mask off behind it's China. It's
For
like,
reals.
hey, we're banning Bitcoin, but in reality, you take the mask off, they're like, we're mining it and we're accumulating. That is China
Smart,
right there.
man. They're smart.
Especially with,
I'll tell you
yeah,
that.
yeah, and that comes into public perception, media, right? You don't want to give your poker hand away. Hey, I got pocket aces. What do you got, right? So that's where China and U.S. and especially with their stock economy, stock and economy, all the stimulus they're doing. Already think about maybe doing another stimulus package for their economy. Then third, we got UK. They did a cut earlier today, I believe, 4.7% or so. Then we got Ukraine, Bhutan. Of course, that's their national reserve now. Same thing with El Salvador and Venezuela. So it's these countries right here, bullish and game theory. That's the key, right? Bitcoin, a lot of early adopters got into Bitcoin in terms of game theory. And it's clearly playing out. We're starting to see United States once more, China once more. Germany should be on this chart, but unfortunately they sold at the Pico top right before the Israel war news in September.
Wow.
So terrible mistake by them, especially before a bull run for their economy and
Yeah.
their citizens. So this is something very important. And then let me go ahead as well, show you the mark Yukita. Let's see if I can get him pulled up on here. Uh, Full screen. It doesn't look like it's able to come full screen on that. But anyway, I'll post that in the chat for the users. But yeah, I'm just so bullish in terms of where we are right now. I'm not euphoric just yet. Once we start getting to 80, 90, and 100, again, mainstream media, everything you watch on there in terms of Bitcoin and crypto, it has the perceptions just completely changed from, hey, we've gone from a scam to even Larry
Exactly.
Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, who they're buying billions every single day, being on mainstream media, apologizing, saying, I truly regret calling it a scam when I should have been packing my bags. So, they're all predicting 100K before Trump's inauguration, January 20th, I believe. It's certainly a bullish target. If we've been in this industry, you know that it could even go higher than that, or we could
Yeah,
just chop around for a
100%.
little bit. But certainly, we had a semi October, November, and then December, Christmas. I remember last year, Christmas 2023, that's when basically Solana hit its all time high this cycle
Yeah.
and then came down.
Memes were going through the roof.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, I bought
memes
a
weren't
lot
even
at the top.
memes at the time were not really. I feel like memes this cycle are super different than they were last cycle. Like now, last cycle we had Ethereum, right? Like Ethereum was a thing, and I want to go back onto what you were talking about Ethereum and how back then, like in last cycle, we were always looking at Ethereum as a format to go ahead and give us a signal for risk on assets, because it's considered an altcoin, right? Basically, all the money is always going to flow directly into Bitcoin first, and then it's going to go to the altcoins and the micro caps, which are considered like with the meme coins and stuff like that, usually towards the end before we usually see the market have some sort of temporary top or top cycle, right? For example, right now, a lot of the altcoins are not really doing much. Like there's very few altcoins, they're up 20, 30%. Dogecoin went up a lot because Elon Musk was endorsing Trump. So I think that's the reason why there is a huge influx of Dogecoin going up in these last couple of days and weeks. And the reason why it has gone already up 80% in a month. But all the tokens are not up yet. There's still a few tokens that are still at their bottom, like Shavam said earlier, that haven't really done anything. And I think we're still going to be getting closer as Bitcoin continues to show more momentum to the upside. I think towards around the $80,000 and above is where a lot of the altcoins that haven't done really much are going to start waking up, because I think a lot of people are still indecisive. I think a lot of people think this is still a fake rally. They're like, there's no way this is the market. This is a this is a bull trap. Like this is just fake, because of the fact that if we go back and look at the chart very closely, that back right here at around July, we had multiple fake outs. I mean, we could go as far as May, where Bitcoin tried to
Oh yeah.
attempt breaking above $71,000 dumped. I remember around early July, Trump was speaking at the Tennessee Bitcoin event, and everybody was speaking about how Bitcoin was going to break out. And I was like, I think it's a buy the rumor, sell the news. It pumped. It went as low as $54,000, pumped all the way to $71,000, and then dumped literally the next week down to
Yeah.
$48,000 over
Now
that
that
weekend.
that massive dump, I remember that was I was on a train from London to Paris. Um and that I didn't have any service. I wanted to buy that dip so bad at the bottom because it was morning time at that Pico bottom there.
Yeah.
That was from the war news, Israel and Palestine, I
Oh,
believe.
it was?
Yeah, that was from the war news where they
Oh,
attacked
okay.
and just capitulated right there. And I was like, oh man, this is an easy buy below 50. Been waiting for that for a while. Even if we drop lower, maybe below 45, 40, that would have been a blessing. But clearly it never did. Just so much liquidity in the market,
Yeah.
especially with institutions now in the picture, right? They just haven't
There's for
let it
sure
drop
limit
below them.
orders here. There's for
Yeah.
sure limit orders here.
And another thing to touch on, last cycle, this cycle has been completely different given the institutional flow of just cash flow coming in, right? A money printer for our industry right now. Last cycle, we just had so many pumps and dumps because of all these users that are now behind bars like SBF and FTX,
Yeah.
Three Arrows Capital, which is now publicly known. We pump 30%, boom, we dump 40%. They would just
Yeah.
manipulate. And I think a lot of users from the last cycle have PTSD, including myself. But it's been just so beautiful this
100%, man.
cycle. Yeah, like today,
100%.
like even the election pump, that was one of the reasons I was like, oh man, I can't chase right now. It's like,
Yeah.
what if SBF just clicks dump from prison? Like,
Dude, hey, man,
so
I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably stopped buying the dip for a month. And I've been buying the dip every time. Every time I've got the chance, I bought the dip. And then for a 1 month, I didn't put anything. I didn't put any money because I'm like, you know what? Like, what if it does go lower? I want to have money ready to deploy and I want to get it at a
yep,
discount of 50%. And I think that also
a
that's
lot
why I
of
say
yep,
that comes in with greed. I'm gonna be completely honest, man. It's already pretty well priced, but I'm like, I want another 50%. But I think we all have a little bit of that PTSD from last cycle where, we were so used to that after every kind of like big bullish news, it was the opposite. You know what I mean? We had the Bitcoin ETF. Everybody was talking about how that was going to take Bitcoin to $100,000, and it dumped after the Bitcoin ETF. The biggest news that everybody was waiting for, the market dumped. The ETF for Ethereum also caused a dump, right? Uh,
right,
what is it? The Bitcoin halving also. Everybody was predicting that the Bitcoin halving was going to go ahead and take it off. And take us to over $100,000, and it did the complete opposite, right? So the market, you always have to be very, very careful. You want to be 10 steps ahead of most people. And I think that's kind of like what we're seeing right now is that a lot of people like you and I want to go ahead and chase it, but we're like, we know better.
yep.
It doesn't mean we're not going to
And
do it because trust me, I look at it sometimes and I'm like, man, I should have just
it's
trusted myself and gone all
it's
in.
also, as you mentioned, just greed, right? It's a completely different cycle. I feel like the ETFs were priced in. I remember in January 2023, I was in the southeast United States, somewhere in the coast of Florida, and I remember when the news of potential rumors of a Bitcoin ETF being introduced. And then everyone started applying for it. And then eventually, but that initial
I
pump
remember
up
that.
from January 2023 to January 2024 is essentially where all the market makers front ran the ETF. And then, boom, the
Exactly.
ETF got approved. We kind of dumped and we started chopping around since then.
And that was
Unfortunately,
2023, right?
yep, exact. Yeah.
So
So,
remember 2023, we also had one of the biggest banks, Silicon Valley Bank
SVB, yep.
collapse. We had a lot of banks collapse in 2023. I think we had over 10, I think over
That,
10 banks collapse that year. So we also had
yeah,
Republic, I think it was a Republic Bank. So there's
exactly.
that's kind of interesting now that I look back at it. It's like there was a huge crash with a lot of banks going, and then you have the talks about the Bitcoin ETF, which is very, very interesting to say the least, man. Very interesting
Yeah,
we
I
connect
remember
one and one.
around those times where these banks were going down, Bitcoin kind of like, followed the stock market down with it. Everyone's hoping for a greater capitulation event, which never happened. Some, whales and just traders that have made 7 to 8 figures were calling for 13K, and we just giga pumped in terms of market
Yeah,
makers front running it. And now it's just, hey, everyone's just buying. Certainly, I wouldn't over leverage here. Just chasing pumps. I would just utilize it, go into DeFi. And then memes, right? Memes got front ran last cycle as well, right? When you look at
yeah,
Shiba Inu Shib, when that got listed on Binance and Coinbase, the market cap went from just 500 million to 40 billion in 3 weeks. And now we just, as you mentioned, Pepe just got listed on a centralized exchange. So this cycle, who knows, man? So many of these tokens could go to billions, but you don't want to over leverage your risk as well when you have small like dry powder or what you want to buy, right? But the blue chips, they're certainly going to outperform. If you have risk allocation, you could do memes, but the safest bet so far, of course, not financial advice or anything, is blue chips, and then the blue chips you can utilize in DeFi to generate even yield as the price appreciates, right? SWI has been a
yeah.
killer. Solana's been a killer. ETH, if you're in some positions right now, just earning solid yield, awesome. Oh yeah, I love the Sol BTC or even the Sol ETH. Actually, the Sol ETH is
Yeah, I
so
was. Have
bullish.
you seen that? Have you seen the Soul
Yeah,
ETH, man?
yeah.
So
I love. That's what I look for. It's like that meme of Wolverine looking in bed, and in the book, that's what I have. The Sol ETH. man, it's just insane.
Yeah, man, this is what I've been looking at because how you mentioned earlier about, how we've been seeing this decline with Ethereum slash what is it called? Ethereum slash
BTC.
Sol. Yeah,
Yep.
with BTC. Actually, let's go ahead and do this one. Look, I want to show you, was it I want to pull out ETH BTC with what that's doing. Because there's definitely an indicator with what's going on right here, in my opinion, with what we're clearly seeing that there's a dominance right now with Solana, and
Oh
clearly
yeah.
Ethereum's way behind. And we look at
God.
Ethereum. I mean, look at Ethereum. Ethereum has just continued to go down, and I've been waiting for this breakout because the reason why I look at Ethereum very closely, you got to also keep in mind a lot of the tokens, a lot of the altcoins prior to the ones that are now like layer ones, a lot of them are built on Ethereum. There's a lot of
Exactly.
things built on Ethereum, so a lot of these altcoins are also not really going to do much if Ethereum's not moving, right? So that's why we've been seeing an influx of like Sui, Solana, or anything related to Sui, because I've been also seeing Say. I feel like Sui
Yep.
and Stay are almost like back to back because they've been pumping around within the same time, and they have a lot of massive influx of volatility. But this is Ethereum slash Bitcoin, so this is telling us the dominance between Ethereum and Bitcoin, and it's clear that Bitcoin is the winner here. Ethereum has been slowly losing its dominance since back over here of 2021. So since 2021, there has been a massive influence and dominance on Ethereum as opposed to, to Bitcoin as opposed to Ethereum. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at this Solana slash BTC, this is the chart that we're looking at. Let me go ahead and show you real quick. I want to compare both of them. This is Ethereum slash Bitcoin last cycle right here. As you see back in 2020, you see this massive breakout where Ethereum, I think,
The
touched
flippening.
over 4,000, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was everyone. Oh, so this is the thing for anyone watching who wasn't part of last cycle. The Pico bottom right there before that massive pump up on crypto Twitter, they had a
Was it
space
right here?
where they had ETH is dead as a party. And right after they had that ETH is dead party, ETH just giga pumped. And then once at the top, everyone's talking about the flippening, which is Ethereum
Yeah.
overtaking Bitcoin in price and market cap. And as you can see from this ratio, it's slowly just gone sideways and slowly bled out. But I don't think Ethereum is dead or anything. It's certainly an
Yeah.
asset. It's just the liquidity has kind of rotated from whales to small users, retail users into Solana, right? Because it's
Solana.
just
Yep.
been leading the market. And then Solana meme coins and meme coins has just drained quite a bit of liquidity from whales as well. But all of these tokens, especially given the Ethereum ETF has been approved, the volume's kind of low. But I think that sentiment is going to change eventually. I think right now it's game theory. Everyone wants to accumulate Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, BlackRock, all these institutions. They want to be who own majority shares of Bitcoin. And of
Yeah.
course, it's limited shares. You can't just produce more like US dollars or any fiat currency print more. No, it's limited to 21 million. And it's getting harder and harder to mine as well. So it's eventually, once they feel like their bags are packed, they're going to rotate into ETH and Solana.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's just how they're going to do it, make their portfolio, let retail get in or dump on them, whatever. But the strong investors are going to stay because, again, in terms of decentralized finance, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Say, they're all great. Sui and Say are probably your best options. Of course, not financial advice, as I mentioned. And when I say best options, in terms of high yields, because there's just not enough liquidity in those protocols that are allowing these yields. But Ethereum,
We,
you
we
want to state you'll get like 2% right now, right?
yeah.
Sui, you'll
I,
probably
I
get
I
20,
think the
40,
biggest I think the
etc.
biggest thing, man, I think the biggest thing between like Ethereum and Sol is that you kind of nailed it. Like Sol actually built like a culture. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for Solana with what they did last cycle, if you remember, Solana was like the most hated one. Like everybody laughed at
Oh
Solana. I
yeah,
didn't personally like Solana.
I
You know, what I mean,
I did
I never
too.
liked Solana. I've been a big Solana hater for the longest, man. And I dabbled into Solana last cycle into the NFTs, but I never saw Solana reaching the levels of where it's at right now. And the reason why Solana was able to do that was due to the fact that they build culture. They have phones. They're more appealing to retail investors. And at the end of the day, liquidity is going to go where people want it to go. And people want liquidity to go to Solana, even though it might not be the best blockchain. Um, but yeah, man, it was great. It was a great talk that we had. We are going to go ahead and start wrapping things up in a little bit right now. Is
Looks
there
like we got
anything
a
else?
comment in the chat from Jean or Jean. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. But for SUI, the ticker is SUI, and then for SEI, it is SEI. Let me see if I can pull it up on my chart here. Share screen. Here we go. There we go. Someone just commented. Let me pull it up as well. Where are we at? Well, I don't think TradingView has either of them, right? USDT maybe. Yep. This is SEI on Binance. So SEI and then SUI USDT as well on Binance. So as you can see, SUI and SEI are two. But other than that, it looks like John might have disconnected from his internet. But you know, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined. We're going to wrap up here. It's been a great session. If you enjoyed today's information, feel free to reach out to the team, of course, about how to generate passive income utilizing your assets. And you know, join next week's session as well. We'll cover some more important and industry news as well as market structure, TA, etc. So thank you guys for joining, and I'm going to wrap this up.